What's up, guys? Welcome to Dads with Mikes. How you doing?
Doing
Good,
well. How
good.
about you? Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I had the pleasure to be on your show, and now you guys are returning the favor, so that's awesome.
Well, people enjoyed having you on our show, so it looked like people really liked listening to what you had to say when you were with us.
Yeah.
That one did pretty good, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well,
I mean,
it's
the
it's all my cracks on the Canadians with the maple syrup and stuff.
That might have had something to do with it.
America's
Yeah.
so much better.
ooh,
Okay,
well,
you
you
want to get
did.
into that now? Is that what you're doing now?
You
Oh,
did say Americans are nicer.
I did say that. Yeah, and I
yeah.
still believe it. I didn't change my mind.
To be fair, my entire persona is based on pancakes, and Canada's based on maple syrup. So it's kind of
We
like
go
a
well together, man.
yeah, right.
Come on, you love us. You know it. Guys, let's start with a little bit of an introduction on yourselves. Eric, let's start with you. Can you tell us how old you are, how many kids you have, and a little bit of info about yourself?
Sure, I believe I'm 45, and
He believes.
it's 45, somewhere between 44 and 46 without doing the math. So 45 average. But I have two kids. My oldest son is 6 years old, and my daughter is about 2.5, almost three, somewhere in there. And yeah, I mean, for me, it's an adventure, literally an adventure every day since they're born. So good, bad, or whatever, it is what it is.
Bad too? No.
No, all sunshines and rainbow.
Okay, great. Mr.
Well, is it
Pancakes.
the 6-color rainbow or the 7-color rainbow?
Oh God.
I only reference the 7-color rainbow, and it's the only one I recognize.
Okay.
And having said that, your turn. Tell us a little
Uh,
about yourself.
Yeah, so obviously Mr. Pancakes here. I don't give my real name. Um, I am 39. I'm going to be 40 in like a month or so. I do have one kid. Um, we looked to have more, but just wasn't in the cards. Then we looked to adopt. Yay, America, $1 million. So no, that didn't work out. So that was that. But yeah, I only have one. She's about to be 6 in December. Um, and I started Pancakes with Your Dad in like late 2019 off Truth Social, just as kind of something to bring more positivity to truth because it was all politics, um, something different, and I kind of wanted to help myself be a better dad overall. And it turned into this, which is a good thing. It's kind of gotten grown and gotten a lot better over the years.
So why pancakes with your dad?
So the Pancakes with Your Dad story kind of started from when I was a kid. My parents were separated. It kind of wasn't a good thing. I hated it. My brother hated it. One of my favorite times was when my dad used to meet up with us and stuff, and he would take us to like Waffle House or somewhere like that. We'd get pancakes. One of the things we used to also get is waffles. We would get chocolate chip waffle and a glass of milk is one of my favorite things. And just sitting there talking with my dad eating pancakes. It was one of my favorite things. So one of the things I always wanted to do was kind of start like maybe like a small, I don't know, kind of I guess morning show podcast where it was like low, just maybe 20 minutes sitting there, just almost in the nature of talking with your dad. It never really kind of took off. I kind of never got there. Everything kind of guided into this direction, which I think is better. Maybe one day I'll bring it up, but that's kind of where that came from. It's kind of a I guess a knockoff to my past, basically. So something that I enjoyed as a kid, sitting with my dad and
Sure.
talking.
And how'd you guys meet, by the way, the two of you?
Well, so I had a different podcast I did for authors. And, I'm sitting there, I closed it because I just started homeschooling my son. I was busy as could be. And I was stalking Mr. Pancakes on social media, talking with him. things like that. And one thing led to another. I'm like, I have everything to do a podcast.
I
How
bought him
about
dinner, lit some
I'm,
candles.
it was a very romantic thing.
Sounds nice.
But basically, I said, let's start this up. He had a good following on True Social and all this. And I figured with his background and my background, the conversations were meant just for him and I to talk about random stuff. Then we started getting people wanting to come on and started inviting people. And now it's a mixture of guests and us just ranting to each other and all these things, which is fun. And, it's allowed us to meet you. It's allowed us to meet a lot of great people and get a lot of insights to what other people have to say versus what we have experienced.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, we talked a little bit offline about this dad movement online on social media. What do you guys think about this trend, if we can call it a trend? Because, I mean, look, when I got online, like a year and a half ago, maybe, I haven't been that long on this community. I had no idea that this was going on. Like, just guys talking about being parents and fatherhood in general. And I just, one thing after another, I was following, I found guys like Tyler Tote and Save Your Sons. And then I found you guys. And then the next thing you know, I'm following like 100 dad accounts.
Yeah. Yeah, it tends to happen that way.
Yeah. What do you guys, how do you think it's going with that? Are dads sending out the right messages right now?
Well, so here's my thought. And kind of like the joke I made when we were introducing sunshines and rainbows and all that. The fact is it, like, one thing that Mr. Pancakes and I try to do is be as brutally honest about our experience, good, bad, or whatever. And, I've used this example before where I had a friend that once told me that he just felt bad because he sees all these people on Facebook. This was years ago when everybody was on Facebook and how great everyone's life is. And I'm like, listen, dude, I'm like, people's only showing their best because they don't want you to know how bad things are. And like we said, at one of the episodes that Mr. Pancakes and I did when we first started, I even mentioned my son. I didn't have really any connections maybe for the 6 months that he was first born. I just didn't really feel like I was a dad. I didn't feel like I actually felt bad because, and I felt bad because you always hear all these people, oh, the moment I saw my kid, I cried. It was wonderful. The unicorn jumped over the bed and the world was great. And I'm sitting here thinking, what is wrong with you? No, that's, I understand. Like my daughter, when she was born, I felt a little bit of a connection, but for me, it wasn't instantaneously like all these people talked about.
Right.
And because I've gone through it with my son, I realized that it was a normal feeling. And I've talked with people offline and such that felt it too. But most people don't want to tell you, oh, it was rough. It was this. Because just like the days of Facebook, or when, like, Facebook's still there, but the days when I used to deal more with Facebook, people always talked about how great their life was because they don't want you to see how bad things can be. It's almost like, and we've joked about it on our show before, where it seems like the gentle parenting or these parenting influencers on TikTok or whatever that shows the videos.
Yeah.
You see them sitting there, their kid is calm, they're talking to their kid, and you never know what just happened right before there. They could have been screaming at their kid. They could have been doing all this. As soon as they got everybody calmed down, they're like, okay, honey, record this for me so that everybody can see how great my path works and I can get people to follow me because they think I'm just so calm and peaceful.
There was some woman that went to prison, I think like a year or two ago. She had her whole family ordeal on Facebook. I can't remember the name. I mean, you probably have to Google it like 1,000 times over to point it and figure it out. But she portrayed this wonderful family life. Oh, so wonderful. Her kids are wonderful and all this, gentle parenting, all this other stuff. And then, come to find out she was like physically abusing all of her children and stuff.
I think I heard about that.
Yeah. There's
Yeah,
a
it was-
family of like she had like 5 or 6 kids or something like that. Something
right.
crazy. Yeah.
That's
Yeah, it's
insane.
pretty interesting. It's almost that's I would say that's one reason why me and Eric try to be as open, honest, direct, and realistic as possible.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I say gentle parenting to an extent is okay, but there are portions of it where you do have you can't take at least one spank or a spank 100% off the table. Nothing is ever 100% off the table except for physical abuse.
Right.
I mean, the possibility that my kid may get too much, no matter what I've done. My kid's just slinging freaking in the store. I saw one kid had a bunch of rhubarb, like they were freaking swords, and he's just doing this, slinging around. I don't care. I'm not going to get down to his level on my knees, explain the history of rhubarb, teach him how to make a pie, and then see if I can calm him down. No, I'm going to grab him by the ass and go, "Wow! If you touch that freaking rhubarb one more time, I am going to take you outside and whoop your butt in front of everybody. Don't touch it again." And then the kid's not going to touch it again. I don't intend to like beat the piss out of my kid, but a good spanking. Correct it. Stop it. I mean, obviously, the first instance, I'm going to be like, "Hey, honey, don't put don't put that down. Don't touch that." You know what I mean?
Right.
Those. I'm going to go through a couple of those once or twice to see if I can get the kid to quit right off the bat.
Yeah.
But I mean, ultimately speaking, we're in the store, we're in public, the kid's tearing up somebody else's equipment and product, taking away money from that business. That's inappropriate. I mean, somewhere
Mm-hmm.
along the lines, you have to step in as a parent and correct that behavior. And some of those gentle parenting things just aren't going to happen. It's not realistic. So
Do you think all the dads out there on social media are they being truthful? Are they being authentic? Or are they not just not sharing at all the failures that they have? So maybe
yeah,
because
it's
maybe things like that happened to them. Maybe they
right.
lost their temper and they
Um,
took it on their kid. Would they share that? Do you think we're in an environment right now on
mm,
X or any other social media where these dad influencers, like
right.
we talked
Um,
about them, would they admit something like that, or they're trying to preserve their image?
I don't necessarily think they're trying to preserve an image, and I don't see anything wrong with them always portraying positive side of it. The reason being is, I mean, we all know how influencing and propaganda and all things like that works, right? So if
Yeah.
you say the same thing over and over and over and you keep portraying it over and over and over, eventually, especially if large amounts of it happen, the populace will slowly fall in line, right? So I don't believe it's bad. I do believe that some of them maybe portray that image, and some of them just that's just what their accounts are supposed to be. Some of them do have an instance to want to help. Some of them have an instance to just want to make money and be rich. It's just kind of an idea, but I
But don't you think
this,
it can create this sort of situation where maybe somebody, a father, a new father, is having a hard time,
yeah,
comes
absolutely
across
agree.
this account that says that, oh, every day is beautiful, and
Hmm.
I never lose my temper, I never yell at my kids, I never do this, I never do that, and then he starts to follow that guy because he wants to get better, but he keeps seeing that he's doing great
Hmm.
every single day. He might start to feel bad about himself, saying it's having the opposite effect. Like instead of positively influencing that guy, maybe all this
Yeah,
positivity is sort of making him feel bad, and now he starts
yeah.
to feel shame. Is that
To
one of a
to
consequence?
to an extent. Um, I mean, here let me explain. I guess kind of my position on the whole idea. Um, I mean, like I started mine in 2019, much earlier than a lot of them. And one thing I've kind of noticed is kind of the trend of a lot of these dad accounts happening, in the last year or two. Um, And that being the case, I think it's kind of like a lot of them are like, ooh, look at these people. They're doing cool stuff and making money. Let me try and do the same. And it's
Could
kind of
be.
what's starting to happen.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is good that it does happen. Um, but I mean, there does need to be other sides of it. The positivity is good. But they don't necessarily need to show so much of the negativity. Maybe show how to handle things like negativity.
Yeah.
That's one thing that me and Eric try to strive to do is kind of show both sides. We also want to
Hmm.
hear from people that are on the opposite end. Like me and him are not gentle parents. We don't like the gentle parent movement. We think that's kind of a little on the
This is news to me.
right. Yeah,
Especially after our last conversation.
right. It's not that we dislike gentle parenting or gentle parent people. We just don't agree with it. It's not our idea. But we do want to hear from them because the idea is different. We don't assume that we're wrong. What our goal is to explain our experiences and share with others in hopes that we can help. You
Right.
know,
So
Eric,
now,
what do you think about that? The whole parenting movement online.
the one thing that comes to my mind is, and I was thinking about this as you're talking about it, is, and I try not to get religious or anything like that, but my pastor was talking maybe a couple weeks ago about how a lot of people will portray how fantastic things are. They don't go through hardships. They don't go, and I'll tell you what, like, you have anybody being realistic about something is dealing with hardships. Either your job is your hardship, you're having a hardship at work at times, your wife and you, if you and your wife are always just lovey-dovey, then you're not being honest with each other. I've heard that comment, and it's true. My wife and I'll admit, we argue, but like we also turn around and say, divorce is too expensive. Let's forget any. We make jokes about things like that.
That's good.
And my kid and I, like, my kids love me. Like yesterday, sitting on the couch, literally as soon as I finished cooking dinner and I sat down, I couldn't have a minute without at least one kid hanging on me. But on the same note, when they're misbehaving, and they do misbehave, I have to tell them, "Do you want a spanking?" And at this point, they're like, "No." I'm least happy to say I couldn't tell you the last time I've had to really spank my kids, other than, like we said, the football tap, but where you just give them a light tap on the butt and
Right.
get moving. But in general, a lot of it's, hey, this, do you want me to start counting? No. Do you want a spanking? No. Because you have, like, and I admire the fact that you said you've never spanked your kids. To me, that's an amazing feat. And,
Thank you.
for me, both my kids have, like, I think the gray in my beard is coming out because of them. I, I love my kids to death, but everyone makes it seem like there are no problems with raising kids. You,
Exactly.
your kids are going to be so perfect and so great. And then, like my pastor was saying about all these people making it seem great, is if you're not honest about what's going on with your life and what's going on in the world and the things you're having, one, people don't know that you need help. People don't know that your struggles. And then people's going to look at you and go, why can't I be like them?
Right.
Like my buddy that saw everyone having a great life. And I can guarantee you, I've known quite a few of those people in real life that posted fantastic things of their life, and their life was a mess. I mean, just white trash, hillbilly, almost living on dirt floor houses, kind of a mess. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing if that's what you want to do, but when you're trying to portray yourself living in a mansion or living the best life possible and you're going back to a shack that's about to fall apart, you're not being honest with the people you're trying to portray your life with.
Yeah.
And for me, it's one thing I've always tried to do with anything I put out there is, if you know me in real life, you're going to know who I am in social media and wherever I am, because you're not going to benefit from, like, the Call with Dads podcast. You're not going to benefit from anything you hear from us if we're talking like, oh yeah, my kids are, like, mind you, my kid homeschooling, fantastic. He does amazing, except for math and writing. I literally have to hold my breath quite a bit when I'm teaching him math. And I leave my wife to deal with the math, deal with the Chinese, and and handle the handwriting, because I can't do it. I can do the sciences, I can do the reading and things like that, but and I'll brag about his achievements in education all day long. But the truth is he has issues. I have issues teaching him the issues he has issues with. My wife does great with it, but it's not my forte. You know what I mean?
And good on you for admitting that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is being honest about where our shortcomings are,
Yeah.
being honest about what we're trying to do, makes a world of difference when you and I are talking. And if you're sitting there like if you talk like, oh, my kids, I've never had an issue with them. I've never had this. I never had that. And my thought is, man, my kids are a disaster compared to his. You know,
And that's what I worry about when like new fathers or soon to be fathers could come across things like that and maybe get the false impression that, oh, then parenting is just great all the time.
Yeah.
Which is not realistic.
Right.
And
Right.
that's why I want to throw out like a scenario for you guys. Mr. Pancakes, we can start with you. Let's say I'm going to be a new dad soon. I come to you as an experienced father and I ask you, Mr. Pancakes, oh, I'm so excited. My wife's pregnant. I'm having a kid in 5 months. I'm so excited. Well, what should I expect though? Like, how is it in the beginning? What would you tell me?
I would tell you that I've served in the military. I've gone to war. I've been held. And I've been beaten. And I can tell you there is nothing more tiring than the first month.
Wow.
That is the truth.
Why the first month?
That hospital stay was very bad. Tiring.
Okay.
We were up for days and days and days. And then learning how to basically completely alter your life. You don't have to take care of another human being. Now you have basically you're walking around in a room barefoot with a bunch of tacks, and you're holding this tray that has a bunch of crystal glasses on it all stacked on top of them, and you're trying not to break them. And mind you, all of those glasses, if you even break one, not only do you go to prison for life, but now they are also worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. So that's how because you're basically taking care of this child, and it's ever so sensitive. You can't just be like, here's some food, like a teenager. You can't be like, TV's over there, bruh. You can't do those things with a baby.
Right.
You have to be there all day, every day, and you have to interpret what versus versus means. You know what I mean? So you have to kind of figure out how to do it at the same time of keep this baby alive. And it does sound hard, and it does sound weird, and like you're going to have a very difficult time, and it might scare some people. But you gotta understand that people have been doing it for years, for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years. It's in your blood, in your nature, and in your being to figure it out. You will get through it. You'll love it. It'll suck, but everything that is great has a hard time in the beginning.
That's the most realistic answer I think anyone has ever said. Most of the time, because think about it. Most of the time, what do you hear from dads? It's all that cliche stuff. Oh, you're never going to sleep again.
Right.
But yeah, and then from all the positive guys, oh, it's the best thing ever. You're going to love it. You're going to have fun every day. But that's just not it. So I appreciate that answer very much, Mr. Pancakes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Eric, what would you say?
You know, it's it's interesting to me that, like I said earlier, the first several months, I just didn't have that connection. Was loving my kid. I was growing attached to him, but I didn't feel that initial, like, I'm a father. You know what I mean? Like what you hear everybody say. And, if you don't know better, you think something's wrong with you. And that's really how I seriously felt for that time period of, well, something's wrong with me, because everyone just, they love their kid the moment it pops out. And, it's at the point of, yeah, like Mr. Pancake says, the things that are hard are well worth the effort to put in, because my kids are my world in speaking in sense. And, like last night, I think I might have gotten a couple hours sleep just because my daughter was having nightmares, this and that. But, here's the thing is, usually my daughter, if she sees my wife, she'll kick me out. Last night, my wife comes in on the fourth time I had to get up, and as I'm walking out, I hear her tell my wife, "Not you, not you." So my wife walks out and I walk back in, and she just kind of reaches out to me and wants me to hold her to put her to sleep. So I did that. And, yeah, I'm running on little sleep and tons of aspirins and sinus medicines because allergies are killing me. So it's a wonderful day today. But that lack of sleep means absolutely nothing, considering that I wound up my wife last night. And I know that sounds bad, but it's that whole thing of, there's bad times with everything, like I've mentioned before, and I'm not the perfect dad by any means. I've gotten upset, I've yelled, I've just kind of had to walk away, take deep breaths. I've asked my kids, "Why are you doing that? What is wrong with you to do that? Don't take off a poopy diaper like that." I mean, I've yelled like things, and I'll admit, far from perfect, but that's the thing is, we have to understand that as a dad, one, we have to learn to control ourselves. That's the hardest thing
Yeah.
as a man, dad, father, husband, whatever.
We're not the most patient gender, are we?
No.
We are not. But you look at it, our nature is to fight, to protect, to all that. So when you have that mindset, like when I grew up, right? I grew up as out in the country. You had to be willing to fight. I got into fights in high school. I got my butt beat. I beat people up. I did all these things. I again was far from being an angel growing up, and I have the knowledge to tell my daughter, don't date a boy like me when I was in high school, because I was not a good person. I'm well aware of that. Now, being able to admit something like that, like a perfect example is my biological father. I knew he was a huge pothead when he was married to my mom before they got divorced. He was big into drugs, all this. He called me with a joint and yelled at me, and I'm like, "Well, you're telling me you never touched it?" He goes, "I never have." I'm like, "Well, your friends, when they get drunk, they tell me all the drugs you've done." And, he shut up for a little bit, and didn't like that I knew the truth. And that's the fact is, when the truth about something that comes out, one, if I'm telling you it's all rainbows and sunshine, and you find out, wow, he's a real jerk at times, or wow, he doesn't control his temper the way he thinks he should,
Yeah.
or the way he preaches, then I look bad and dishonest, and no one's going to trust me. And
Right.
the fact is I think we need to be more honest with each other about the hard times as well as the good times, because the first year is rough. It's just a challenge
Yeah,
at
but I
times.
feel like most people don't talk about that, and maybe
Yeah.
and the people, the guys experiencing it, and I didn't. So I admit it right now. There are a couple of times I should have probably reached out to other fathers and ask questions or let them know like what I'm going through so that I could hear that, hey man, it happened to me too. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Just tough it out, weather the storm. It's going to be fine. Just got to get through it. I wish I had reached out to someone and heard that answer because it would have helped a lot.
Well,
Mind you, I went through it. I got through it. Everything's fine now.
Right.
But it would have helped a bunch. Do
yeah.
you think there's enough of that right now in our society? Men reaching out, admitting that, you know what, I'm having a hard time. I thought I was going to be a great dad. It's just a little bit rough right now. I didn't handle it well last week. What do I do? You think there's enough of that?
Not publicly.
Eh.
There's too many men's coaches. So so one of the things is, and I don't discredit anybody's business. I don't discredit anybody's coaching abilities or teaching abilities. But one thing I do discredit is when there's a bunch of like 20-year-old dudes trying to coach a bunch of men how to be men. Like, like Rem, like how you guys have your new coaching thing, right? I like that one. Right.
Yeah.
And I like how it is because you're not coaching men on ultimate how to be a man. You have 3 different people with 3 different specialties on how to coach individual. And because what's his name? Flabby to Fit.
Yeah.
I mean, he
Fitness guy.
clearly knows what he's doing with fitness because he shows before and after photos, and they are a total separation. So, if you're not, and one thing I always stress is I don't trust anybody that takes a position from authority. So I understand not going off of having to be like, well, see, this is what I've done before, but in certain instances like fitness, I mean, you're not going to go to 400-pound John that's smashing a Coca-Cola 2-liter and say, how do I get fit? He doesn't know,
Right.
So I think how you guys are doing it is pretty good, but I do find it odd that there's like this all of a sudden. It's like I like Save Your Sons. I think that he's great. He started around the same time I did, but for some reason his like took off way better. He's better at business clearly than me. But I think that was kind of the model for him. I think his model was a business model, whereas mine wasn't. Mine was just spread info, nothing more.
Okay.
And I think that model that he had bred this, I guess, trend of other men. Now everybody can do it as long as I show you how. And sometimes I can feel like that's a little much. Maybe we shouldn't really be focusing on trying to coach men and how to be men and this and that. Maybe we just have things where we teach each other and help each other and show each other stuff.
Yeah.
Some things, but some of the coaching stuff isn't for fatherhood.
Yeah.
A lot of them aren't. Some are finance, some are fitness, some are, so some of them are all right. It's just a big trend. And before we go any further, I do want to say one thing. Eric, you were talking about taking the diaper off a little wrong. Have you guys ever seen War of the Worlds with what's his face?
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys seen that? Remember the part when he's peanut buttering the sandwich and he gets pissed off at his kid and just whacks it against the window? I did that with my daughter's diaper once.
Oh gosh.
Except it wasn't a window, it was the wall.
Oh.
Yeah, I got mad for some reason. I don't know what it was. It was like, it's 5 years ago. So I just got mad and I was like, God damn it. I just went whack up to the wall and it stuck to the wall.
That must have been fun to clean up.
Oh, it always is.
Okay, let me ask you guys this. Eric, let's start with you. Can you tell me, 1, what's your favorite part about being a dad? And 2, what's your least favorite part about it? Something you hate about it.
Well, I hate cleaning poopy diapers right now. But I know that's going to come to an end. In all truth, seriously, my favorite part is when I don't have the ability to get up off the couch because I have 2 kids stacked on me. I mean, it sounds crazy, but my kids showing me that they love me is my favorite part.
Nice.
At the same tone, when I'm trying to get stuff done and I have to, I'll be honest with you, I preach about being willing to discipline and talk to your kids and what needs to be done, but no father really enjoys that part. if I could just have them pile on me and love on me all the time, that'd be fantastic. But, and yeah, I dislike having to say, stop doing that. Do I need to start counting? Blah, 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 blah. But outside of that, I really, I, for all the good and all the bad, there's no trade off. I wouldn't change anything of what I've done and where I am at, for the fact of, with all the good and bad, and there is plenty of bad as well as good.
Yep.
I get those good moments of my kids, either my son punching me because he's a little boy and he wants to fight, or my daughter wanting me to hold her at night because she can't sleep and she had a bad nightmare. I mean, those make it all worth.
That's the good stuff.
Yeah. So,
Mr. Pancakes, what about you? What's your favorite thing? What's your least favorite thing?
I would say my favorite thing is when she does cool stuff. I really don't have to teach her. Like I like sometimes, for example, she's been reading since she was like 3 or 4 years old. Like reading, not just mimicking words and stuff. Like she's 100% better. Before she was doing onesie twosies, and now she's like reading chapter books. And she's only 5, and she'll sit there and read. She loves it. I like when I'm just on the couch and we're all hanging out or doing whatever, and she chooses to go get a book rather than grab the remote and turn TV on.
That's
I love
awesome.
that
Yeah.
makes me like, yes, those, and obviously hugs and kisses and stuff like that. So those are great. Those are probably one of my favorite parts. I have 2 things that I hate the most.
Let's hear it.
One is the separation and that it puts between me and my wife. That's tough. It does.
Interesting.
It really does. It puts a stressor because her natural order is to protect her baby. She's a mama bear, right? So
Yeah.
that's her natural order. My natural order is to protect her, but not like she does. I'm gonna say, get outside, go stick your hands in the dirt, see what happens. If she's got a fork and she's gonna put it in the socket, I'm like, ah. And then, she's going to go over there and whap it out of her hand and say, no, don't do that. I'm going to be like, go ahead. It's going to hurt. You're probably not going to want to do it again, but do it again. Go ahead. Come on. So there's a difference, and that difference does put a strain on the marriage.
Okay.
It's tough.
Okay.
But we learn and figure it out. You know what I mean? The other one is the knowledge of the future. Which is unknown.
Okay.
Is she going to be a criminal? Is she going to be riddled with mental illness? Is she going to be gay? Is she going to be transgender? Whatever the frick they say these days.
I think the way you're parenting, Mr. Pancakes, I think you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, but I would say the wonder of the future, the unknown of the future.
That's a good one. Good answer.
That was one of my favorite. That one actually dwells on me daily and actually keeps me up all night quite a bit.
Wow. Powerful answer. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on Dads with Mics. Let me know, tell us a little bit about Call with Dads, what's going on, what's new, plug anything you want. Take 30 seconds each to do that. Eric, go ahead.
all right. So with Call with Dads, you can go to callwithdads.com and find us. And here's the great thing is we actually just are launching, at the time of this recording, Homesor, HOMESSOR.com. And Homesor is a homeschooling marketplace for courses. At the time of this recording, we are taking in instructors, finding new instructors, and building up our courses for people to be able to offer in-person courses, webinar or virtual style courses, or pre-recorded courses. And we offer a great commission for the instructors so that they can build a business and build freedom for themselves as well, so that they can provide the best kind of skills and information to students or the kids that want to be able to do it. And we're letting people teach anywhere from preschool to just getting out of high school. So whatever level your skill that you want to teach is at, we're letting you do that to where you can offer kids the best kind of education, because education should be back in the hands of the community and not the government, because I'm very much pro government if anyone has listened to me. So
What a
Mr.
great
Pancakes. Yeah, so hopefully people benefit for this, and through student side and homeschooling parents, community members, anybody that wants to take the time, because call me funny, but if you're a homeschooling, you have experience teaching. Like I
Hmm.
said, I sit there and I teach my son, hey,
Yeah.
this is the science. This is what we need to do. You can take those skills and focus it on something. Maybe you have a math course you can teach that I don't want to. So, and I can teach science, which I enjoy science. I can do nature stuff, whatever it is. Like on HomeSir, I'm doing a software education on how to use a design software so you can be more active in the skilled trades. And
Nice.
I'm going to be reaching out to skilled trade people to get them to start doing almost a trade school for homeschooling, which
Hmm.
is one of the things I want to get going eventually with HomeSir.
Awesome. We'll
So
have the links to all that in the show notes. So I'll make sure to include those. Mr. Pancakes, what you got going on?
Obviously all the same stuff with callitdads.com and homester.com. Homester.com is definitely going to be awesome. When we get a lot of stuff built up, the more that we build, the better. The more we will be able to build and add. But as far as like the pancakes with your dad stuff, obviously the best place, the centralized location is, pancakeswithyourdad.com. That's the best website to go to for all that. It should have a connection to all of my socials. You'll have Facebook, Instagram, Truth Social, LinkedIn, and X, as well as on the website. There's a resources page where you can download for free tons of woodworking, plans and all kinds of stuff that gives you step-by-step instructions just for fun, to help you kind of have projects with your kids. There's tons of books. We do have our children's series, The Justice Frogs, and there is other books where it take you to links and other places. Rem, send me some links of your stuff. I'll put them on there.
Cool.
I actually
Thanks.
got to jump on Lords of X and see if I can get a laundry list of everybody and add it to the website, for the resources page. But that's kind of the goal of that, is to have a solid resources where dads can go to and find anything and everything they ever need all in one spot. Um, and don't forget our I do have my online shop. Um, Granted, a lot of it, I don't like to lie, and I don't like to be like, oh, I'm so, so American made and all that stuff. So it's all drop shipping stuff. It is. It really is. I use Printify. I'm happy and proud to say I do, because everything on there is all designs by myself or Eric.
Okay.
But all of the stuff is there to help us raise funds for our websites and our programs and anything we have. We haven't really taken any profit at all, zero. All the books from the Justice Frogs, every time somebody buys one, those are Amazon made. I get $1.72 of profit. I take the profit, put it in a pool, and save it until I get enough to buy more, and then I donate them to a local library. Um, Hopefully one day we can make money off it, but currently we don't. We take everything and put it right back into the business, to try and help and be better, and grow as much as we can.
That's awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining me on That with Mike's.